Everybody, when we talk about blended learning, you have questions to ask yourselves, isn't it? So the first question I asked myself when I learned about blended learning was, what is this blended learning? And I should think you also ask yourselves same questions. What is it? And where does it come from? Who initiated it? You can ask yourself such questions. And why should we implement it? And I know mostly as teachers, when we are here, we are all teachers, isn't it? When they give you something, the first thing you ask, why should I use it? Why me? Why us? What is needed to implement this blended learning? What do I need? Do I need skills? Do I need resources? What is it that I need? Do I need to be educated in a certain way? Do I need extra qualification? Those are questions you need to ask yourself. And how is it implemented anyway? Especially in different contexts. Can it be implemented in the primary schools and high schools? Can it be implemented only in universities or institutions where face-to-face learning takes place? Or can it be implemented even where there's distance learning? The university I work for, we do distance learning. So you can ask yourself, is it also applicable there? But let's wait and see. What makes an institution to say this one is ready to blend? When can we say Sol Plaatjies is ready to blend? Or you don't need readiness? Are you ready to blend? And why can we say you are ready to blend? What competencies are needed either to develop or to implement this blended learning? The last question, it can be, what are blended learning tools? Do we know them? Is there anyone here who can tell us what are the tools that we need to blend? I prefer interactive, colleagues, because if it's gonna be one way, when you get out of this house, you might not even remember what I said.
I suppose you need a computer.
Computer. Yes, you also need a computer. It's one of the tools. You're right. Thank you, Say. So blended learning, as the name says, blend. You can think of the blender that you use to make your smoothie at home. Is it really what it is? So I consulted few sources with regards to the definition of blended learning. And then before I came to their definitions, I also came across this figure which illustrates to us what blended learning could look like. We remember mathematical sets. What do we call the middle part with mathematics? Let's see mathematics teachers. It will be set A, set B. Where it shows face-to-face, it can be A. Online learning could be B. What do we call the middle part? Who's teaching maths? The intersection, where they intersect. So now, you see, this can be a simple definition to say it's where the face-to-face and the online intersect. Then we can say we are blending. When you are there, where they intersect, then we are blending. So other scholars, they see blended learning as technology mediation instruction. Others, they say it's a web-enhanced instruction, while others are saying it's a mixed mode instruction. And others, they go further and say it's the use of multiple teaching and learning strategies, a range of technologies in combination with face-to-face interaction and the deployment of both physical and virtual resources. So some people might think blended learning means online, fully online. We no longer do face-to-face. But some scholars, they say it should be the combination of methodologies, not only one. Where does this blended learning come from? You remember one of these questions where I said, where does it come from? In the 1940s, we had only paper-based learning. And then around 1980s, there were TV-based training videos which were introduced, where people will get videos and then you sit down, you learn from the video. You'll be watching and then you learn. And then the CD-ROMs came into being, where you'll buy a CD-ROM and then sit at the comfort of your home and learn something. And then now, from the year 2000 up to now, we're talking blended learning. I don't know if the picture is visible enough. If you can see at that picture of blended learning, you can see there's computer there, there's a paper where a person is writing, there's a CD, again, it's combination of these others that we passed from, like the paper-based, the TVs are still being used nowadays. We've got Botakalane Sesame to teach our kids at home, isn't it? Before I get further, I would like us to just have a little icebreaker, which will give us, which will answer maybe one of our questions that I asked. They are not many, I think you can just take where is it? That's one. The others will just observe, because I don't have many. There's a grains of rice and a piece of paper in there. Please take the paper out and put it on your desk. The grains should remain inside the plastic. Okay, we're going to pour the grains of rice on the piece of paper within 1 second. All of them you pour within 1 second. Let me give my instructions and finish. When you pour, don't use another hand to bring the rice on the paper. You just pour, and then you read it. And as you pour, observe what's happening. Can we start? 1 second. Others are cheating. They are trying to. and it was no longer 1 second, 30 seconds. Empty the plastic. You are not pouring. I wanted you to pour. I want you to pour. I don't want you to put it. I want you to pour. And then I wanted you to observe what happens when you pour. Okay, let's hear what was happening when you pour the rice. Hey, don't, you pour, you leave. What happened? What did you observe? Let's hear your observations. As you pour, what was happening? And what was your aim? Your aim is to make sure that they all get to the paper, isn't it? But what was happening? Others chose to go, and others chose to stay on the paper, isn't it? What else did you observe? They went all over the place. Let's take that and bring it in your lecture notes. When you pour the rice, take it that your hand, when it's pouring the rice, is you when you're trying to impart the knowledge to the student. And what happens? You remember, when you impart that knowledge, you have only one aim, that it gets inside their mind and they get to understand it, isn't it? But not all of them will. That's why in those grains of rice, some of them, they went straight to the paper and then that's it. So others, they decided to go astray. So that's what happens when you teach your students. You know why is that? It's because your students have got different learning styles. And sometimes when you teach them, you use only one teaching method. We used only one method of pouring the rice there. We didn't think of bringing a funnel and making sure that they all go where they are supposed to go, isn't it? We just said we pour. And that's what mostly we are doing. We just pour the knowledge to our students and we pour it the same way, all of us, isn't it? So blended learning is about considering the different learning styles of the learners so that you can bring different resources that will cater for different learning styles of our learners. I hope the activity helped. Why blended learning? We blend because we want our students or our learners to have universal access to learning. When a poor student is sitting there and that poor student can only learn by seeing stuff happening and you are busy just talking and talking to the student, you are denying that student an access to learning. Because the student, or maybe let's say this student want to do for himself so that he or she can understand while he or she is doing practical stuff. And what you do is only telling, and you want them to only listen. Only a few that can learn through listening will grasp what you are saying. Again, we blend because we want to improve the learner-paced learning. When you stand there and you just lecturing to the students, they will learn at your pace. They will not learn at their pace. So when we blend, we're gonna improve the learner pace. Again, as I said earlier about learning styles, you will be accommodating different learning styles of your students, at the same time making the learning fun for them. Because they won't just be listening to you, they will listen to you, they will watch videos, they will listen to other voices, they will fiddle with the technology, and sometimes they will get stuck and then they will do trial and errors. The learning will be fun for them. Unlike if they are just listening to the lecturer, who will also even tell them that if you don't listen to me, you're gonna fail. Isn't it? Is what we tell them. What are the ingredients of blended learning? First of all, you need a proper plan. You cannot just wake up in the morning and say, tomorrow we start blending. My colleague, you wake up in the morning, you come from a conference where a prof was presenting blended learning and you feel so enriched, and you come here, you say, colleagues, tomorrow we blend. No question asked. So there should be a proper pedagogical plan. And again, with us at distance learning, we don't really follow pedagogy, we follow andragogy, because most of our learners are adult learners, and we also consider their prior experience when we teach them, and then we know they've got some baggages that they come with. When we want to be polite, we're saying they've got different needs, and then we need to accommodate or address those needs of our students. Again, you need to have some scaffolding strategy to say, how are we going to make sure that we support our students or our lecturers when we start this blending until they can be on their own. We cannot just say, today we are blending, we've got facilities, we invested in whatever technologies, here are they, use them. You need to have a scaffolding strategy so that everybody can be supported, get used to, and then at the end, be on their own. Again, you need to know what learning outcomes do you want to address? What needs have you identified? Meaning we need some research to say what really forces us to blend. What is it that we identified, which we feel strongly that when we blend, we're going to address it? Again, think of your assessments. If we blend like that, how are our assessments going to be? Are we still going to follow the same route of assessments, or should we also adapt our assessments so that they are blended? You don't only blend the teaching and learning and leave out the assessments. It means you do both. It's like when you cater learners' learning styles during teaching, it means even during assessments, you need to cater for them. If there are students who need oral exams, you need to think for them when you do the assessments, isn't it? And then if there are learners who will need scribes to write for them, if you consider them when you teach, consider them even during assessment. You cannot only consider them during teaching. During assessments as well, you need to cater for them. Implementing blended learning. Here is the experience of open, distance, and e-learning situation. I think from what I'm going to be sharing with you here, you can look at your own institution and say, what's applicable? Some might not be applicable to your institution, but some might be applicable. Because I'm from open, distance, and e-learning institution, this is how the blended learning was done. Firstly, there was a research, the challenges were identified, the role players as well were identified, and the beneficiaries. We've got different types of learners, like I said. With our institution, we have learners with disabilities. We've got very old learners who need recognition of prior learning so that they can get into the system. We have those who didn't even pass matric so well. All the institutions, like your institution, they reject them. And then Unisa say, come to the Lord. If you are rejected out there, Unisa is your Lord, and then we'll save you. But we don't just take them. That's why now we need to use a blended learning to make sure that they are accommodated. We have programs that we take them through until they are at that level. Even though some of them might not be at that level, but they will be at their level where they can be competent and where they can be able to participate in the world activities. So some of the role players whom we identified were e-tutors. We have what we call e-tutoring, where we train tutors who are tutoring online. Then we've got a platform where they offer their services online to students. They post activities, they post discussion forums for students. They make sure that students interact with each other and also with the e-tutor and the lecturer. So again, the face-to-face tutors as well were identified to say we cannot only have online tutors, we need to have also face-to-face to cater for those who cannot be able to use technology. And then with the assessments as well, on-screen marking was introduced, where you mark online, you can mark offline as well, but you use technology to mark. And then we also have assistant teachers who offer modules that we call signature modules. They are fully online. There are certain modules you can do both online and offline, and others they are just fully online. And then we also identified that we need certain skills in order for the blended learning to take place. And then we also need continuous professional development. Like I said earlier, to say what exactly is needed for us to blend. You can ask yourself if whether you will need new qualification. If you are already in the system, what you'll need capacity building, and then you're gonna need continuous professional development so that you stay in the game. Again, quality assurance was very much important, because if you do these things and you don't quality assure, especially things that will go online. Remember, online is very fast. If I talk now here, I'm talking to few people. For you to take what I'm talking outside, it might take up until December to reach about 1,000 people. But when it goes online, within a minute, it has reached millions of people. And if you don't quality assure, then you'll be in trouble. Again, quality assurance was not only for teaching and learning material, also for assessments. I just want to share with you right now to say we've got other technologies that we use that I find it relevant, especially for institutions like yours, wherein you can be able to design activities for your student with ease, and then which will be very interesting. This software is called H5P. When you just type H5P, you'll get into the link. You can register, it's for free. You register an account and then you can just browse it and learn. I just want to share with you a few examples of what the H5P does. It has got some course presentations. Oh, it's not showing there. I need to drag it. Let me. You can do interactive videos, you can do memory games, it can do the quizzes, the recordings, collages. Let me just show you one presentation. Is it coming? It's difficult to work on. Okay, this is a presentation about berries. You can design something while you are reading your presentation and it records you.
How to use Unisa marking tools.
I had flu when I did
Look at your desktop screen and find this icon. Double click on it. Look at the far left of the screen and you'll see this tab. Click once on the 3 lines. After clicking on the 3 lines, this menu will show up. This is the menu for Unisa marking tools. If you want to minimize, click again on the 3 lines and then it will be minimized like that. When you click on add the element is added on the element tab on the left hand side. You see that.
Sorry, Doc,
Now you can start adding comments for your first element
Camtasia.
by clicking on add
Yes.
comment button.
So the good part about this Camtasia is that you can make it an MP3, you send to your students, they can watch it on their phones. And if, for example, you were explaining an activity, for example, in maths, you were explaining an equation that might be difficult for them, they will always refer, they will watch it over and over and over, because it can be saved and be watched offline. It doesn't mean always it will need internet for them to watch it. Again, for yourselves, even when you want to do workshops, it doesn't mean always one should stand in front of you and share information with you. You can design presentations like those and then you just email it to each other and then you read. Maybe when you meet, it's just to ask questions and to discuss, not necessarily for the person to stand here and present. So it's good when you're explaining difficult concepts for students, and also if you just want to share certain things, how they are done with your colleagues. Here I was just sharing with the markers how they should use the marking tools on our on-screen system. Another thing is, when you want to emphasize certain things, you are able to bring it forth and backwards. I don't know if you've noticed that. Let's watch it again for the last time. You are able to, when you want to emphasize something, you are able to bring it closer so that they see what you are referring to, and then you take it back. The good part
Welcome to
again is that you
Mathematics, Science
can
and
edit.
Technology teaching in the foundation phase. Today we will be learning on how to use the Unisa marking tools. How to use Unisa marking tools. This is the menu for Unisa marking tools. If you want to minimize, click again on the 3 lines and then it will be minimized like that. When you click on add the element is added on the element tab on the left hand side. You see that.
As you are recording, when you move the mouse to point, it will also show.
Now you can start adding comments for your first element by clicking on add comment button, which is the sign of a positive sign. Start typing your comment in the comment box like that. And then if you want to delete the comment, you can click on the negative sign next to the positive sign. Remember, the positive sign
You
is
see,
for
you
adding,
can bring
and the
it
negative
forward
sign
and then
is to
take it
delete.
back again.
And then
That's what.
when you delete, the system will ask you if you are sure you want to delete.
So even if you are sick, you are not going to be in class, your student can still learn in absentia, because you can send them your presentation and then everyone can have it. Like I'm saying, blended learning encourages learner pace. Everyone will watch at his or her own pace, rewind, watch over and over if they do not understand. But when you are there in front of them, remember they might, if they missed one thing that you said, it's amen. Because you don't have rewind, isn't it? They can only rewind when they are watching you on their phones or on their laptops. What can we get out of this blended learning? Firstly, we'll get maximized participation, because most of the learners, they will participate whether you like it or not. If you send them such videos on their phones where they can be able to access, everybody's participating. Unlike if they are in this hall, you're talking, only 2 or 3 are asking questions, only 5 of them understood what you said when they leave the place. And then again, it lessens the pressure because they can view this stuff at their own time. So they don't have a pressure to say, I didn't hear what the teacher has said, what the lecturer has said. So they know, even if I didn't hear the lecturer will post that for us, and then I'm going to watch it over. And then you tend to get up-to-date material. Remember, you can be able to search for information over and over again using these gadgets. You can be up-to-date. You can know what is current and be able to teach your students information that is current. And then again, it improves your feedback to students. When you use technology, sometimes your students can get feedback immediately. Remember, with the H5P, if they are doing a quiz, for example, immediately they will get results, how well they did or how bad they did. Because as they are playing that game and answering the questions, they get results immediately. Unlike if they are waiting for you to mark and then give them feedback next week. So there's instant feedback, and also the feedback improves and you are able to give individualized feedback to students. Unlike if you're waiting to give them feedback all at once. So I'm just quickly also going to share with you another experience from Unisa, which we did to support grade R teachers so that they can register for B.Ed foundation phase. Remember, most of our grade R teachers, they only have certificates, NQF level 4s and NQF level 5s. Few of them have NQF level 6s. Very, very few have got diplomas. So there were some who wanted to have B.Ed degrees. And like I said, institutions like yours, they don't want such people, because you know they are going to take your institution down, because they are not going to perform, isn't it? So Unisa say, let's try. And again, what we identified when some of them tried to register for this B.Ed, they underperformed. Some, they didn't have money to buy textbooks. Remember, some of them, they are not even paid by the government. Actually, most of them, they are paid by the SGB in schools, what we call stipend. They don't really get a salary. So for them to afford the prescribed textbook is a problem. Again, they didn't have access to computers so that they can participate on my Unisa portal. Then we had high level of dropout because they could feel we don't really fit here. Some of them, they would register late. They will get material very late through the post office. Sometimes it can even be the post office strike because they cannot access the material online. Then Unisa decided, let's support the students so that we can see if our blended learning can work. Then we had e-tutors for them. We had face-to-face tutors for them as well. They attend Saturdays, 2 Saturdays per month. We set up some venues around Gauteng province. Some they attend at Benoni, some they attend in Johannesburg, some they attend in Pretoria. And then we used to get some even from Mpumalanga who travels during the weekends to come and attend the face-to-face tutoring. And then we had external markers so that it doesn't put a burden on the lecturers to mark the work. They mark both manually and on screen. We had online assistant teachers. And then the venues that we teach from, they were resourced. We're using smart boards to teach them, and that also increased their interest in learning because they're learning new things. I remember in one of my classes, when they do discussions, I'll let them discuss and say, now you're going to write your answers on the smart board. So you'll find the teacher afraid to even come closer to the smart board. But as they do it over and over, they get excited and they can't wait to come again next week to learn something new with the technology. And then we also employed administrators just to run the project. So it was also part of job creation. The university envisaged to have 500 students for this program. Unfortunately, we only got 219 the first time, and then they were coming for those face-to-face tutoring, but again, they were even having the online tutoring. Then the idea of developing the so-called signature modules came into being. The signature modules are the ones that are just fully online, but the material were developed in such a way that they can be able to access them on their phones, not only on the laptops. Okay. I'm wrapping up, only 2 slides left. So when we looked at the performance of those students, the yellows are the students who passed at the end of 2017, and then the failure rate is the orange, and others didn't even qualify to go for exams is the gray ones, and then others didn't come to write exams. But you can see there are very few that, I don't know the colors very well, I'm very colorblind, but it's powder blue, I think. And then some who qualified for supplementary, they are the greens. So we saw a bit of improvement with this project. This year, 2018 first semester results are those ones. We've got 69% pass rate and only 30.77 failed for our first semester. Thank you very much.